Coming up, two teams hit 10-game winning streaks. This is Locked On Now MLB.
The biggest games, the best performances, expert analysis. You are Locked On Now.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Now MLB, local experts weighing in on the biggest stories in baseball. I'm your host, Kanani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every single weekday. We've got our Locked On hosts here. They are ready to recap all of the action for you from MLB yesterday. We begin with the Mariners completing a doubleheader sweep over the Nats in yesterday's best performance.
The best performance.
Hold up.
The Mariners and Nationals played 2 on Wednesday, and that meant 2 more wins for Seattle on the road, giving them an even 10 wins in a row. The streak has propelled the Mariners back above 500, and Locked On Mariners says this is the hottest team in the league.
The hottest team in baseball just keeps on winning. This is Ty Gonzalez, host of the Locked On Mariners podcast. The Mariners sweep their doubleheader with the Nationals and sweep the series on Wednesday to make it 10 wins in a row. Absolutely incredible what they've been able to do over this stretch. They have now won 18 of their last 21 games. They win the first game today by a score of 6-4, then win the nightcap by a score of 2-1. The Nationals couldn't really get any offense going aside from a pair of ninth inning home runs by Juan Soto in each of these games. Outside of that, though, the Mariners were able to keep them in check despite dealing with some command issues throughout the pitching staff. No matter if it was Chris Flexen, Paul Sewald, Matt Brash, etc., the guys didn't have their best stuff today, but they were able to survive well enough to win both of these games. We already covered Game 1 on today's episode of Locked On Mariners. We'll be covering Game 2 and more on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Mariners. Be sure to check us out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you then.
The Baltimore Orioles have taken over the headlines in the past few weeks with their surprising win streak. Baltimore extended it to double digits by beating the Cubs at Wrigley and completing the sweep. Locked On Orioles and Cubs tell you what you need to know from the friendly confines.
Quite frankly, it's too easy for the Orioles right now. They play these teams like the Chicago Cubs. Are you kidding me? A 7-1 victory for the O's. They have won 10 games in a row. And if you would have told me this next sentence before this season, I would have said you were crazy. But on July 13th, the Orioles have a winning record at 45-44 after 10 straight wins and 3 straight sweeps. It was Spencer Watkins doing his thing. It was the O's scoring early and late. It was Austin Hayes in a major slump, breaks out of it with a 4 for 5. Everybody contributing to another great Orioles win. 10 in a row. 10 in a row. This team, 10 in a row. And they are over 500. Wow. It's fun to be in Birdland right now. And I'll recap it all coming up on Thursday's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
Another lifeless, boring, apathetic performance from the Cubs tonight. Almost a carbon copy of last evening's offensive showing as the Orioles dominate the Cubs and sweep this 2-game series at Wrigley. Obviously, got to give credit to Baltimore. They're one of the hottest teams in the league, one of the great stories in the league. But to let Spencer Watkins come in here and Jordan Lyles come in here and to combine to score 3 runs against them is pretty disheartening. Justin Steele hung in there tonight. He struggled early, didn't have his best stuff after a long layoff, and ended up putting together a quality start, 6 innings, 3 earned, which was nice to see. But the bats just provided nothing. I don't even have really any highlights. Christopher Morel had a triple. That was pretty cool. 4-game series coming up against the Mets. Better find a way to get some hits soon. Cubs lose again.
The Giants scored 4 runs in the last 3 innings to beat the Diamondbacks, capped off by a Brandon Crawford walk-off single. Our recap of the thrilling finish in California. Here's Locked On Giants.
Comeback walk-off win for the San Francisco Giants. They have not had a lot of games like this, but they absolutely needed it today. And Brandon Crawford, who got the walk-off hit, absolutely needed it as well. Ben Kaspick with the Locked On Giants podcast. Giants were down 3-0, facing a good pitcher and looking like they were going to lose another series against a team that they really should beat, the Arizona Diamondbacks. They lost a series to them earlier, just a week ago. They've lost 2 series to the Cincinnati Reds, and it looked like it was going to happen again, but not today. The Giants came back. They got another pinch hit home run against Joe Mantiply by Wilmer Flores. Brandon Belt homered, and then Brandon Crawford in the bottom of the 9th inning hit a walk-off single with the bases loaded. A bit of redemption for him. He came up in a similar spot with a chance to tie the game or go ahead in the first game of the series, and he hit into a key, crucial double play. So redemption for him. Great for the Giants to end up winning this series when it looked like they might lose it, and hopefully they can carry that into this upcoming 4-game series against a really good Brewers team. So we'll break this one down on Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
Coming up, the Dodgers made an even bigger comeback than the Giants yesterday, and the Yankees walk off in an unusual way. This is Locked On Now MLB. Today's edition of Locked On Now is brought to you by Built Bar, the best tasting protein bars on the market. They're all made with 100% real chocolate, and they come in dozens of different flavors. Their newest one, Coconut Brownie Chunk Puff, has that protein-infused marshmallow, so you definitely want to check that out. Head over to Built.com. You can use our promo code LOCKED15. It gets you 15% off of your order. You just have to punch in LOCKED15 to get 15% off of your order at Built.com. Welcome back to Locked On Now MLB. I'm Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every single weekday. We continue our look around the league as the Dodgers came out of nowhere to steal a win.
Let's go around the league.
The Dodgers were down 6-0 to the St. Louis Cardinals in the 6th inning, but you could never count out the Dodgers. They scored 7 runs from the 7th inning on to shock St. Louis, and Locked On Dodgers tells you how LA was able to pull it off.
Well, the Dodgers won, and Tony Gonsolin still doesn't have any losses this season. So I guess that means Tony Gonsolin pitched pretty well today. I will not be accepting questions. What's up? It's Jeff from Locked On Dodgers. Tony Gonsolin did not pitch well today. He got knocked around, but the comeback kids, they came back. Dodgers were down 6-0, I believe, in this one, and they bounced back. Will Smith hit a 2-run homer in the 7th inning. They put up a 3 spot in the 8th to pull within 6-5, and then 2 runs in the top of the 9th. Craig Kimbrell had a solid bottom of the 8th, and then Evan Phillips came in for the save. A lot to talk about that decision, about going with Kimbrell in the 8th and Phillips in the 9th. Could have just been a logistics thing as far as making sure that, they wanted to get Kimbrell some work, and since the bottom of the 9th wasn't guaranteed, maybe it's as simple as that, but plenty to talk about with that. Plenty to talk about with this comeback, because some unlikely heroes. Max Muncy had a game-tying sac fly. Hanser Alberto had the go-ahead base hit to take the lead and basically drive in what was eventually the winning run. And Cody Bellinger had a big hit in the top of the 9th inning. So all in all, they got some contributions, 3 more hits from Freddie Freeman, 3 for 3 with 2 walks. But they also got some contributions from guys who maybe you wouldn't have expected. So a lot to talk about this on Locked On Dodgers first thing in the morning. Make us your first listen.
Valuable positioning in the AL Central up for grabs. The White Sox and Guardians didn't get any advantage against each other in the standings by splitting their 4-game series. Chicago took the series finale and now has another important series against the division leaders up next. Locked On White Sox tells you all about it.
The Chicago White Sox beat the Cleveland Guardians Wednesday night 2-1. White Sox split the series with Cleveland, and now it's on to Minnesota for 4 huge games in Minnesota. Sox are only 5 games back in the AL Central, so these are really must-win games. Back to Wednesday night, Lucas Giolito, one of his best outings of this season. White Sox bullpen was outstanding as well. One of the most energetic closers in all of baseball, Liam Hendricks, with a big 1-2-3 inning to help get the win. Sad news, Eloy Jimenez once again seems to have injured himself doing normal baseball activities. Hopefully the Sox aren't missing him for too much time. But focus now on to Minnesota. Sox send Johnny Cueto to the hill on Thursday night.
The Mets and Braves went into their series with the division up for grabs, and New York held their lead by taking 2 out of 3 in Atlanta. As the Mets get ready for the last series before the All-Star break, Locked On Mets tells you just how big it is to stay atop the NL East.
You know, I come on here a lot and I say, hey, the Mets won another series. But guess what? This is not just another series. This was the series. The Mets went into Atlanta before the All-Star break, and they take 2 of 3 from the Braves. Massive. Guess what? That division lead, not going anywhere right now. This is Ryan Finkelstein, the host of Locked On Mets, and the game I had to discuss tomorrow on the show is just an amazing one as the Mets pile on 7 runs, hit 3 home runs. You get Eduardo Escobar with his 10th of the year. Francisco Lindor hits a 3-run homer that now exceeds his RBI total from last season, more this year than he did in all of 2021. Mark Canha goes yard. Louis Guillorme batted cleanup. Everyone was worried about that. Guess what? RBI double from the cleanup spot for Guillorme. Just a great team victory. There's all the Mets fans that were pessimistic, worried about this team going into the series, and guess what? The Mets get the job done. There's the Braves fans out there that were cocky and saying, hey, the Mets are gonna Mets. The Mets always Mets. Guess what? Not today. This team gets the job done. Make sure you tune into Locked On Mets tomorrow as I'll break down everything we saw, and I will also preview what lies ahead as the Mets take on the Chicago Cubs for a 4-game set before we get to a much-needed break with the All-Star break beginning on Monday.
A wild finish in New York let the Yankees take a walk-off win against the Reds. Locked On Yankees goes over how New York won it, while Locked On Reds isn't worried about this loss given the way it ended.
This is Stacey Gotsoulias of Locked On Yankees, and the Yankees beat the Reds 7-6 in 10 innings. It was a comeback win, it was a walk-off win, and it was won on a wild pitch. Lots of strange things have been happening in 2022, and for the Yankees, Clay Holmes having the outing he had on Tuesday night was probably the strangest, and I feel like this may have been the second strangest. Alexis Diaz comes in to pitch for the Reds in the bottom of the 10th and uncorks 2 wild pitches to help the Yankees score and win. DJ LeMahieu scored the winning run on his birthday. Congrats to you, DJ LeMahieu. Now, the bad thing about tonight's game, Luis Severino had to leave after 2 innings. You could tell something was up with him before he gave up the back-to-back-to-back home runs in the second inning. His velocity was down, and he went out to pitch the third, threw a couple of warm-up pitches, and then had to leave. So something is up with his shoulder. I'm sure we'll find out soon. Everyone cross your fingers that it's not the disaster that we think it is. I'll have the recap of this game on the next Locked On Yankees, and hopefully anything you need to know about Severino. Let's all just cross our fingers that it's not bad.
Shohei Ohtani on the mound turned into another win for the Los Angeles Angels, this time 7-1 over the Astros. Houston got just 4 hits off of the All-Star pitcher and hitter, and Locked On Angels tells you how Ohtani managed to dazzle us once again.
Welcome to your regularly scheduled Shohei Ohtani W. What's going on, everybody? It's John from Locked On Angels. The Halos take this game from the Astros 7-1, and of course, who else but Shohei Ohtani on the mound tonight. He had 12 strikeouts over 6 innings pitched and 1 earned run. He joins Nolan Ryan as the only other Angels pitcher in history to have 4 straight starts with 10 strikeouts. Oh, and by the way, he hit a 2 RBI triple to help himself out tonight. And that's just the beginning of the offense, because we saw RBIs from Brandon Marsh, Joe Adell, and Luis Rengifo. Even VR got an RBI on an error, so that was helpful. But man, it's just Ohtani doing more Ohtani things. He is a unicorn, and I'm so glad that he's on this team. And I think having Joe Adell in the lineup and with the team kind of sparked this offense a little bit, right? Am I right? I think so. So hopefully this can be the turning point. We say this every time Shohei gets a W, and he's done that in his last 6 starts, by the way. We say that every time he gets a W. We hope that this can be a turnaround for the Halos. But I really liked what I saw tonight. There was some small ball. There were some base hits, putting it all together, working walks, working counts. Great stuff. And we're going to talk all about it tomorrow on Locked On Angels. So join us wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube.
That's it for today on Locked On Now. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every single weekday. Now that we're done, make sure you check out Locked On MLB and your team's Locked On podcast. I'm Kanani Stevens. This has been Locked On Now.